A startling message, a startling message for the world. 2024, the next solar eclipse. All right, so I'm still on it because it's all happening, right? From AISH.com, the mystical meaning of the new eclipse, which is only 7 years away now. Man. All right, so this article's coming, I believe, 7 years ago, and it's talking about another eclipse 7 years later. Now, is that normal? Is that normal? Why is Drop paying so much attention to these signs? Article by Rabbi Benjamin Blesh. Amazingly enough, the total solar eclipse, or total eclipse, which took place this past Monday across the continental United States, was not the end of the story. While eclipses of this magnitude are fairly rare occurrences, scientists tell us that if you stood in one place on Earth, you would have to wait on average another 360 years until you saw another total eclipse. This time around, it's going to be different. A sequel is due a mere 7 years later on April 8th, 2024. All right, so we got the drop. We've seen the crisscross applesauce on the head bone, right over here. What's the importance of India Superior, and why would this sequel happen just 7 years later? They want us to be distracted with all these things, and it's cool to talk about sometimes because we have to understand even in the confusion. But let's not be distracted about this. This is a glorious time for Israel. It's a glorious time for the people of Hasharah. We're talking about Israel, Judah. We're talking about the children of Israel. I'm not worried about if the hijack believes that there is a creator. I'm not worried about the hijack believes in you and me. If some theory of some chosen people is just a theory, that's cool. I can see oppressed people. And oppressed people come in all shapes, sizes, and all this. We get it. But as a group, it's been a long time when a certain group has been under constant pressure and scrutiny and genocide and just, you know, whitewashing and iconoclasm and destroying our images, destroying our heritage completely. Like, we ain't seen nothing like this. Someone who says they Chinese, they still know they Chinese, right? They know a Korean person know they're Korean. They don't care about the history and what's on the walls. And this nigga got dreadlocks. Nah, man, well, I'm Chinese. I'm Korean. I'm from Spain. I'm Spanish. I'm Mexican. That's who I am. Can't no one take that away. I'm Mexican. I'm a Salvadorian. I'm Nicaraguan. That's who I am. But this group of black people, they can't have that. They don't have that. They get argued with every step of the way, unless they go along with the go along, get along gang. What did the Con Kwame tell y'all, man? You go against that grain, right? They gonna say you insane, right? Y'all people crazy. What you mean you from here? What you mean you Israelites? What you mean about a birthright? We the only people on this whole earth plane that can tell you right to your face bone who we are and piss the whole world off at the same time. Wait a minute. If you say that you native, what does that make me? I'm not native. If you say that you the Meshakan, the Moshe, the sons and daughters of Moses and Dawi right here in the house of Israel, right here in India Superior, what they call America, what does that make me? Everyone gets nervous. They start looking around. What does that make me? I'm talking about the signs, and I'm saying these signs are relevant to the whole world because the whole world is watching us. But these signs are for you, my nigga. This is a personal thing between, this is an ancient love song between your framer, your shaper, and the children, especially those that MHOE, that put the Most High first. It's a lonely road to self-discovery because everyone wants to tell you who you are and then tell you who you're not. But if they can't tell us who we are, how can they tell us who we're not? So when we say we are HaWah's children, how can they tell us we're not? When we say we are by nature, we are all inclusive to nature, we are pan nature, we are pan native. How can they say we from anywhere else, right? And this crisscrossing right over our homeland, our promised land, is very important to the people of the promised land that have been told that they're black and colored, nigga this and nigga that, right? We say we're not gonna be no crayon color no more. We're not gonna be African American no more. Unless you're talking Afra, which refers to the dust of the earth. Now we can be all inclusive to the earth. But now we got out your spell, frequency. This is breaking the spell to me when I look at 2024, when I look at, this sign right here. This is not some hijack telling us, hey, go to church on a Sunday, or on this year we're going to celebrate this holiday. Nah, man. These are heavenly signs. This is a total solar eclipse. Don't get too much more heavenly sign than a total solar eclipse, especially one that happens 7 years in between. And that seven comes up a lot, when it comes to our seventh day, we rest, or the earth, created in 7 days, right? 6 days he works, 7 days he rests. The seventh letter in the Hebrew is the Zan, which means food, nourishment. I believe this frequency here comes with food. It comes with nourishment. And it comes with cutting off, the hijack frequency, to whatever level and degree you're prepared to do so. The proximity of time is almost beyond belief. It defies law of averages. It means that anyone who might have missed the blackout of the sun this year or 2017 will have another opportunity to join millions who shared viewing this magnificent cosmic performance on August 21st of this year, okay? But there's something even more remarkable about this double feature. All right, let's go. We're just digging on it, y'all. I'm just over here just enjoying some wave surfing with my wave surfers, right? So the path of the eclipse in 2017 went from northwest to southeast, from Oregon to South Carolina. It reached its point of greatest duration a few miles south of Carbondale, Illinois. Whoa. A whole city named after that carbon, huh? Carbonated noggins, huh? We're going to get back on Illinois. We've been talking a lot about this crisscross happening in Illinois. Last time we talked about Cedar Creek, some Springfield flow, Cairo. You got Cairo, Illinois, right? You got the Mound City, the Pyramid City right there. You got their so-called Holy Mountain of Harmonics that they are doing their migrations around for at least 100 years straight. 350 miles in a triangular formation in Illinois. I'm talking to Ishmaelites in there, right? Right. What else? Totality lasted for 2 minutes and 38 seconds. In 2024, the eclipse will wend its way in the opposite direction. So it crisscrossed one way and then it's going to crisscross the other way from northeast to southwest. There is one point, however, which will mark the intersection between the year's eclipse and the one to come. The meeting of the two different paths across the United States, or India Superior, boss. Why is this called India Superior on these old maps? Many old maps, right? So it seems to be a consensus that this is a superior India, which just means India is a generic title for dark-skinned people, like wherever we are, right? So just like Ethiopia, this is a superior Ethiopia. This is a superior India. This is a Grand Tartaria. This is a Asia Major. The meeting of the two different paths across the United States as if marking the center of a large X. What's the X in Hebrew? The TAW, right? The TAW. X marks the spot before they turned it into some cross in Christianity. It just simply signified a sign. And these are signs. These are great signs. And the X is the symbol of the sign. So, in case you didn't know, to take it as a sign, HaWah is a large X. So you know it is a sign. It is a signal of what's to come. At the same time this is coming, they're hiding in their bunkers. They're building bunkers, boss. I just saw this drop on Switzerland and how they got all these underground bases all throughout Switzerland. Man, go dig on the Soul Bone podcast on IG. Type battle popping off. All right, so it is precisely in this very same spot in Illinois where totality, the complete eclipse of the sun, will be repeated for the greatest length of time. That exact point where the 2017 to 2024 total lines of totality cross is Cedar Lake in Jacksonville County, just south of Carbondale. So last time we dug on some Cedar Lake drop, we talked about the Cedar Reserve, the Cedar Lake Reserve, or this reservoir, right? And there is a natural occurring lake, I guess, but there's also a reservoir which is not natural. And anytime we see reservoirs, we know that there's cities buried beneath these reservoirs because they flood them with their damn dams. And we've talked in length about the Tennessee Valley Authority. My Nagas left great comments and said, TVA, ain't there a TVA in that series Loki? And they're doing time travel, boss? What's it got to do with time travel, boss? I'm just asking the right questions. We're talking dragon lines, ley lines. Does the Cedar Lake crisscross? Does all this have to do with any dragon lines? These are us asking the right questions. We might not get every answer, but we're going to ask the right questions. Let's keep going, man. I'm just thinking about this X marks the spot and how it is a startling message. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. To you, it could be a good thing. To Hijack City, it could be a horrific thing, right? But anytime we talk this X, we love going back to the Hebrew. Because I'm talking about the Hebrew kings, the Hebrew queens. Yeah, this message is all about the Hebrews today, my knock. And period. Because if you're talking about the God of the Hebrews, the God of Israel, you're talking about the God of Israel. And if someone else claimed us and wanted to be in our tents and hide in our tents with our name and call us black and colored and African American and all these bywords, that's their problem. That we wake up and we take our titles back. Again, we the only people They can tell you who we are and piss off everybody. We say we Hebrew, they get pissed off. We say we are, indigenous, native, aboriginal, all these things, they get pissed off. Oh, come on. Y'all so pissed off that y'all taking down Hebrew charts? Y'all taking down the Hebrew chart? Y'all see it, man. Now they took down the Hebrew chart. See, this is why we popping off our packs, man. Putting this on flash drives. Look out for the new packs. I got y'all, my niggas. And that's all for the AI. Because this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. Why y'all attacking the Hebrew? Well, you know why they attacking the Hebrew. We know why y'all attacking the Hebrew. There we go. Oof. It's always a backup, man. It's always a backup. Oof. Okay, I'm okay. But still, make sure you make copies of this, man. Make sure you make copies. And you see the last letter is the TAW, right? The X marks the spot, the cross sticks. Read Ezekiel 37, right? He puts two cross sticks, one for the northern tribe, one for the southern tribes. The whole moral to the story is that the tribes come back together. MHOE, Most High, over everything. So this total solar eclipse is a mark, is a sign, is a signal, is a monument. A signal of what? Well, they just say it's a startling message, boss. Nothing to see here, right? It's just a startling message. It's just a mystical meaning, you know? Mystical meaning. You can't spell Tecumseh without the TAW, right? And the TAW is the TAW. And the kum means to rise. Is this a sign of your rising, a signal of your rising, a mark? Is this about remembrance that there is an Israel Indian tragedy when you talk Tau, Kum, Sa? Halal HaWah. Just doing a little bit of wave surfing for my wave surfers. Shalak, so they get their S in English. First they go to the Latin, the Greek to the Latin, right? And it gets real tricky. But they settle on the S. The sh or s, shin, sin, could mean, let's say, two front teeth. So it could be something that you're devouring, right? Something sharp, something being cut in two to eat. Like I said, devour, to press your fangs, right? It could be, different meanings. So this is how you put it together, man. Now there's another sin that represented a thorn. Sounds like the JC flow, right? Crown of thorns, right? Grab, hate, protect. Samek. Ooh, which came out to the top. Whoa. I'm just doing some wave surfing. Wave surfing with my wave surfer. I'm just trying to see which Sa they probably used when we talk Tecumseh. Tecumseh. Are we talking Samek? S? Are we talking Shin or Sin? X? And if you're talking a crucifixion, right, that led to a Tau, then what does this symbolize? Not just Tecumseh hitting this tower, being put on this cross as a sign, but as the whole tribe of Israel being crucified. It's bigger than Tecumseh. Managa has to do with the entire tribe. Tecumseh was doing it for the entire tribe. And if we're talking Samak, then we're talking protect. Hate who? Grab who? Right? I mean, it's deep. But I like the protection flow, hating your enemies and grabbing them by the collar. And how it reaches, how they use it as the X. And remember, the Olmec called themselves the she or the X, I, the she. Just thinking about the name Tecumseh. Hebrew is fascinating, man, because all the meanings, the whole story is told with the Hebrew, all the way to the TAW, right? And again, they changed the W's to the V's. Hava from HaWah, God. HaWah to Hava. Stop it, man. That's just how the moderns do it. I like to keep it ancient as possible when I talk TAW. When we talk TAW. When we talk Tecumseh. He's protecting, he is rising, protecting. Protection that comes, that comes with the rising of the people to hit that mark as a sign, a signal. It's the Israel Indian tragedy. Yeah, we're just talking to scholarly community, right? To the deep historic interest expressed by His Royal Highness, the Duke of Cambridge, concerning the Aborigines of America. May be traced to production of this work. It led the author originally to write the Israel Indian tragedy of Tecumseh. Illustrative of the patriotic race of the North, in which composition has received the honor of being dedicated to the illustrious prince by special permission. The publication has been delayed only from the fact that it would anticipate this branch of the present work and might consequently be injurious. Sherlock, the investigations necessary for writing of North America called into action the study and observation of years in relation to South America, and in contemplating the newly discovered ruined cities and temples. Whoa. So they didn't reach this Israel Indian flow by accident. They've been contemplating the newly discovered ruined cities of gold, and temples upon the moiety of the Western continent, or all over the place, all over the place. The very spirit of the romance of truth seemed to find a voice in every sculptured altar, column, stone, or pyramid. They talking mounds, ruined cities. We're talking pyramids. And when upon the enthusiastic pursuit of hidden knowledge, the sudden discovery of early Christianity, or we're just talking Israelite Hebrew customs, that they're connecting with the Bible, right? And its sacred promulgator were identified with the Western Hemisphere, sanctioned as is the discovery by holy rite, history, tradition, customs, and the oracular sculptures of antiquity. Language has no power to express the bounding feelings of the heart when the original vision of the mind became apparent as the stern reality of historic truth. Knowing from experience that works upon antiquities described in language, cold as the marbles they illustrate, are not of deep interest to the general reader, the author has therefore avoided the usual frigid style and has consequently placed around them such fervent and glowing words as their novel characters have authorized and demanded. Yeah. In delineating also the history of Tyrus, the chief events only are given and being rendered with the artistic pages, con amore, the poetry of history, and not its dry, prosaic qualities will be received by the reader. This will be seen in the descriptions of classic remains, battles, and voyages, and especially, for instance, in resuscitating the ruins of Rome and in the celebrated Tyrrhenian siege by Alexander of Macedon. See, all this connects with the Hebrew history, my nigga. Whether it was rewritten, whether we're talking phantoms or duplications, but when we talk Rome, we're talking Remani, we're talking India Superior, we're talking Promised Land and pomegranates, because the Hebrew word Reman means pomegranate. And Joshua and Caleb had to get the pomegranates to prove that they're in the promised land. So the promised land connection is the Rimmon connection that they turned the Roman connection. And all this Alexander of Macedon, Greek flow, Roman flow, trust me, it connects back to India Superior, which is why they connected all this to America. I'm trying to see why Phineas is crisscrossing on our head bone. We trying to see why this total solar eclipse is crisscrossing in a 7 year span over North America, right? But in this style of writing, it is submitted the author has not lost sight of that high solemnity demanded by the philosophy of history without which memorials of past ages or our fathers would be useless. To give a list of works consulted during 15 years in America and more immediately for the last 2 years in England while writing the Tyrrhenian era would be pedantic, but no author sacred or profound, from the first lawgiver to the present time, having even a remote reference to the Western Hemisphere, has been knowingly omitted, yet being professedly an original work, the volume of the brain has been more largely extracted from that any writer whose works are already before that public, to whose final judgment upon its merits or demerits the present author submits the first history of ancient America with all humility. This nigga ain't playing. He said, look, man, I done dug all the ancient ruins. I'm telling you humbly, man, that this is what's happening over here. There is an Israel-Indian connection. This is the first history of ancient America with all humility, because somebody gonna be pissed off that you're gonna connect Israelites with America, and that group today isn't trying to claim all this. They're not talking Kalelus artifacts. They're not talking Sylvanus, Texas, and Solomon Bravo. They're not talking the forbidden histories of America like Cyclone Covey is, like Daniel Lowe is. But he's submitting the first history of ancient America with all humility, but he will yield to none in the conscientious belief in the truth of the startling propositions and the consequent historical conclusion, and that the reader may not imagine that any undue motive dictated to the writer of the publication of this work the following extract from the Messirs, Longmen's letter upon their own and their readers' investigation of this volume will justify it. Man, okay, okay. And he goes right into it. We're talking about the original history of ancient America. And it goes right into the life of Tecumseh, Aborigines wrongly named Indians by Columbus. In the prefatory remarks to the forthcoming work upon the chieftain Tecumseh, the Khan, the following language is used, and we avail ourselves of the privilege of extracting from our own storehouse materials for the commencement of this new historical campaign. The courteous reader, in tracing the fate of Tecumseh as depicted in the pages of his life, will not fail to observe the strong analogy between the religious sentiments of the chief of the force and those of the ancient Hebrews. They have the same religion, is what he's saying. They got the same religious customs, which means that they are from the same tribe of people that connect to the same spiritual power. I know we read this before, but repetition breaks the spell. My Nagas, they got a cold spell, because these are some cold times for the hijack. But we're not going to go into this frost with these hijacks. We're not going into this tundra with these hijacks. It's getting warmer for us. We're getting that frequency. The sun is shining on you, my Naga. This X marking the spot is all about you, Manai. The fact that this Tecumseh that they're at war with in 1811, 1812 in America is an ancient Hebrew chief, tribal chief, Ka. He is their last, you know, he's the last link the hijack needs to destroy between Israel and this Indian situation in America. They haven't brought the Tecumseh up a whole lot in grade school, public school, not unless they come in straight up hijack, right? So the fact that he's a brother, right? The fact that he's an ancient Hebrew, there ain't no debate that these ancient Hebrews are brothers and sisters, right? We know what we talking about. Copper color Khan. So you got a Negro at war in America who's representing the house of Israel. And he's tribing up whoever he can that follows the old ways, right? Not the new treaties and the new promises, not whoever is hypnotized with hatred and jealousy and covetous against their own brothers and tribes, doesn't mind slaying their own Nagas. See, that wave is what we still surfing today, in these streets, in these hoods, in these ghettos, in these projects. We killing each other like it ain't nothing. And there was a group of Nagas just like y'all that were killing each other for nothing, for gold, for land, but it was temporary, because then they got jacked. Some of them. Whoever's behind all this stuff today was behind this same divide and conquer and slaughtering, the same more and more war. We're talking ancient Hebrews. The language as uttered by Tecumseh is not written by the pen of fiction, merely to uphold the theory of the brain, but gathered from the archives of a people's history. This information is gathered from the archives of Naga history, man. That you so-called African Americans in America are the so-called Indians, who are the ancient Israelites, the ancient Hebrews. And this war is still being waged to this day, my nigga. I mean, if I'm lying to you, tell me you thought this war was about anybody but you. Everybody else is just a casualty of war, my nigga, which is always unfortunate. But you're the target. You're the mark. You're the sign. You are the Mexican. You are the Hebrew. You're the Israelite. You're the ancient Asiatic. You're the Cherokee, the Seminole. And you were there in the War of 1812. You were there in Tecumseh's War. You just forgot. If it tugs on your soul bones, because you were there. And you're still there right now because it's all happening. Do you think we can get enough tribe to tribe up a couple hundred years later or so, whose frequency can affect the Nagas right now, still on the battlefield in 1811, 1812, 1700s, 1600s? You think you keeping the code can have an effect, a direct effect on the wars your ancestors, which are you, are fighting to this day? Do you think enough code keepers can get these Nagas to put down their weapons against each other and turn them against who they need to turn them against, and stop being pawns in some game? You think the hindsight is 2020 and that you see clearly today? How many Israel on Israel battles did we read about in the biblical stories, right? How many David on David wars? House of David being divided, House of Solomon being divided. So you going to war with other tribes is old school. But that's not the mark. That's not the sign. That's not the covenant. The covenant is when the two sticks come back together, right? Ezekiel 37. That is when you're ready. When blue and red can be a purple crown chakra, your dragon can fly. When you stop devouring your own tail, then my naga, you could be a dragon again. But as long as you're going to eat yourself, what's the point? You're going to kill your brothers, what's the point? You're going to steal each other's land, what's the point? You're devouring your own tail. You're the dragon devouring itself. And all they did was create opposites and make nagas choose sides and pick sides. And it's happening to this day, man. To this day. Chicago is happening. LA is happening. New York is happening. Alabama, Mississippi, Atlanta, Georgia, everywhere. Florida, Arkansas, Detroit, my naga. It's happening. The coming together of opposites. The coming together of opposites is not you coming together, because you're not opposites. You're the same. What they brought and create opposites make us choose sides. And them bringing opposites on us and making us choose sides create a divide. And it makes the dragon devour itself. Meanwhile, they laugh to the bank. Meanwhile, they exploit us, exploit our talents, exploit our frequency. That Christmas spirit ain't nothing without your spirit, man. Halloween spirit ain't nothing without your spirit. That office party ain't nothing without you being there. Hijack City ain't nothing without our participation and our consent. We've been giving consent to this social experiment. I'm talking about Tecumseh's war, which was a continuation of the Barbar, which are the Swan Nights, which is a continuation of the Chickamauga, which is what they called us because so many of us died near this river of death called the Chickamauga that they started calling us the Chickamauga. I'm talking Northwest Indian, which is a Northwest of Maxim, which is America, Northwest Africa. Yeah, boss. And it happened way before 17 such and such, man. This was going on from the invasion of Columbus and Estebanico and Cortez and all this, right? This is a continuation of that. And today is a continuation of this. Come on, man. They didn't have time to bring you from Africa. They've been fighting you here. They brought other people to do some this and do some that, man. But you couldn't make no good slave. You over here tribing up. When did you have time to make a good slave when you doing all this fighting back? I can't imagine you wartime Nagas on some plantation. That's not how you wartime Nagas are. When someone's invading your land, that's not how you operate. You didn't make no good slave, my Naga. I'm talking Tecumseh war. All this is a continuation, right? This is not from the pen of fiction, my Naga. We're talking ancient Hebrews and Tecumseh. Yeah, gathered from the people's history to support a theory of apparent truth. The present writer will not yield to any man. The present writer will not yield to any man in the firm belief that these aborigines of North America are the ancient Israelites, are identical with ancient Israel. Now, Who's it? Who are they to tell us North America only and not Central America? Not so dodge all hijack. Just know that in America, boss, it's Israelites, boss, and ancient Hebrews, boss. And Tecumseh was your last stand, not your final stand, but the last one on record, man, because it lasted longer than just 1812. All this was still Tecumseh, Cherokee, Indian Wars, Texas Seminole Wars. Seminoles were tribed up with Tecumseh. So it lasted well into the 1800s, 1900s. And these are still dark, copper colored people at war. All these is not good wars. The war for this world here, covert this, cold wars. Now you're talking Antarctica. And now we got to the present, right? So don't let these people fool you that this, Middle East stuff is just what it is. And nah, this corporation's first spent hundreds and hundreds of years just killing dark copper colored people, just killing our people, stealing lands, making treaties, breaking treaties. Treaty of Greenville, what did we lose? Like 30 million acres. Treaty of Fort Wayne, millions and millions and millions of acres. Tecumseh said, I had enough. You're not going to be doing no more treaties with these people. We're not going to be losing no more millions of acres. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And this all started here. Dragon Canoe said, I ain't going to do this, man. We ain't doing this, man. And somebody backdoor Dragon Canoe at a party. He's dancing and they say he died of exhaustion. Dragon Canoe fought all this war And then they're going to say he died of exhaustion. Come on, at a party. Nah, somebody backdoor dragging canoe. So Tecumseh, he took up the car. Aborigines of America and the ancient Israelites are identical, unless controverted by the stern authority of superior historical deductions. We therefore have formed an original theory in reference to the natives of the North and those of South and Central America, together with the newly discovered ruins, cities in and around Guatemala. If they're just now finding them, they can't tell you who you are. They can't tell you who you're not. And that Guatemala is Hawatamala. All this is Hebrew. The Gua, like agua, is Hawa, Hawa. Is that water, that Hawata. Gua, Ta is the tab. Ma is the mem. La, well, now you're talking alignment, right? That staff, that law. Ka, and by that theory, have separated into two distinctive races or people, the Aborigines of the Western Hemisphere. The lately recovered ruins, cities, and temples in Central America, and of which no account or ancient record is to be found. So how can you say these people aren't Israelites if you got no ancient record of these people? All right, Jackson, let's go. Have shattered the chain of acknowledged history to atoms. So whatever they found in Central America and Americas, it has shattered the chain of acknowledged or mainstream history to atoms. And until that chain is again united by a firmly established theory, education herself must pause, or she can, with the wand of truth, point to her rising children the history of the world or its inhabitant. Education must pause, it said. All right. I mean, what do you think? So he's saying, man, don't teach another lesson until you know what's going on right here in America. Don't teach nothing else about these natives unless you know what's really going on with ancient uh, Hebrews in America. Don't talk no more, about what you thought you knew about the state of Israel here and the Hebrews there and Europe here and Asia there. Unless you know about Asia Major, don't even talk about Asia Minor. Unless you know about India Superior, don't even talk about Little India over there. This is where it all comes to. This is why the Grand Canyon is so much guarded and blocked off, because it's also validating the same fact that whatever they find in the Grand Canyon, G.E. Kincaid, 1930s, look it up, will shatter the chain of ancient or acknowledged history to atoms. And until that chain is again united, education herself must pause. Damn. I'm just digging on it. I'm just digging on a little more. Okay, so, a little at a time, here a little, there a little. Suspicion has asserted that all the natives of the continent of Columbus, what? Why does it got to be the continent of Columbus? Oh, come on, man. Hi, Jackson. All right, let's go. Might probably have been originally of Hebrew extraction. I'm out of here, boss. if that's the case, then this is where we're at, my nigga. This is where they found in us. It's where they found us. This is where copper colored races found here comes into play. Because these Hebrews, on average, are red, ruddy, copper color. They call us Negroes. They say we're black today. They say we're from Africa. But you're in Africa, boss. This is Northwest Africa, right? And Afra, again in etymology, means dust of the earth. So you can't put a location on the dust of the earth. These natives, all the natives, right? Did I say all the natives, or did they say all the natives, boss? Suspicion has asserted that all the natives of the continent of Columbus might probably have been originally Hebrew, my lord. Does that confirm your suspicion of why Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter named Louis Torres to interpret to these Hebrews of Hebrew extraction in the continent of Columbus in America? All the natives were of Hebrew extraction. Woo! You're talking about the land of Shem, huh? You're talking about how Lot divided the lots. You're talking America. You're talking Hebrew, right? So we're talking Quivera, Heber, Cavera, Cabera, Iberia, Iberia, right? Right. The real Iberia, right? The assertion has been made in doubt and trembling because they are afraid of the consequences of telling the truth. I wonder why. For writers have been confounded by essential contrasts in the religious customs of North and South America, there were no analogies between them, which circumstance should have compelled historians to pursue another path of inquiry and so attain a conclusive truth, but they found a Gordian knot which they could not unravel. Can't figure this one out, right? And assuming the impatient weapon of Alexander, they destroyed it. The architecture, however, of the ruins of Copan, Palenque, Uxmal, and their time-honored associates has furnished a Rosetta Stone to aid the new translation of the hieroglyphical history of now ancient America. And if our theory is true, not only have the Israelites walked the land where the sun bestows his last smile, but another nation in which was retained the primitive language of the Diluvian world previously trod that soil as aborigines. And beyond all this, if our thread of Ariadne led us faithfully, if not the Almighty Father who gave the thought, will pardon its application. Yes, beyond all the bounding feelings, leaping at events, at once classic and venerated, do we contemplate another branch of our theory. For if we do not write in error, and our perfect faith assures us that we do not, then the trembling hand which sought in doubt the Savior's wounds, I just say, has been outstretched in sacred oratory even in those southern wilds. So somehow Christianity was already here, or somehow the Ten Commandments, like it says in the Los Lunas stones, the nine code. Somehow these commandments are right already here. Has nothing to do with Christianity. It has everything to do with ancient Hebrews, Moses, right? The prophets, all that. So the bold yet conquered voice which uttered and hallowed and confirmed faith, my Lord and my God, has given forth its missioned eloquence, even in the Western Hemisphere. And there the sainted ashes of that apostle may yet repose. Maybe they're talking about the Apostle Thomas. And I believe, like the bro Dizzle Fitty, this might have a connection with TAW, right? And which is, just like in the Cities of Gold cartoon. And look, there's something about these cartoons, man, the information, the way we're breaking it down. They really want to attack it. They gave our channel a copyright strike out of nowhere for featuring 14 minutes of this cartoon in 2019. Yeah, man, I just had to go to copyright school, which means they don't let us, monetize nothing on the channel for like 90 days. They restrict the uploading and stuff like that for a month and a half just because they can go back 5 years, find a cartoon we're featuring, take the video down, and give us a copyright strike. Wow, that's a lot of power. They didn't even say, hey, you want to take this down or edit this? Nope, we're just going to give you a strike and we're going to take the video down. Of course, I try to dispute it, but you're just disputing it to the culprits, right? I got to dispute it with YouTube and they're going to say, we don't find enough evidence to overturn. So they want us out of here. They want any type of truth out of here. They want any type of real out of here. But something about these Cities of Gold cartoons, man, linking Thomas with TAW like the homie Dizzle do, let you know that these are not fictional characters. TAW is not fictional. Esteban, we know, is not fictional. Fictional. Esteban's Azamor is not fictional. Mendoza is not fictional. Zia is not fictional. So who is TAW? For real, for real. We know who Esteban is. Who's TAW? And is this who they call Thomas? See, Thomas is a myth to these people. Thomas is a myth. The preceding extract may be viewed as the exordium of the original history to follow, wherein if we fail, it will be the boldness of the attempt and not the deed confounds us. Taking as a basis for our illustration the rules of argument, we will first identify one race and then prove that the existence of another is not only apparent but absolute. When they say race, just think in terms of tribes. Now, I don't know, what their theory is exactly. I'm just, getting a little bit at a time out this book, but, you know, love to Kuri Mayo, man, love to Tai Zahn, so many great scholars, man, natural by law, man, throughout the years, that have always dropped some great, PDFs. I'm just getting to a few, but, it's, they could be talking northern, southern tribes of Israel. We could be talking Moabites and Edom over here, but either way, we're talking the old world, man. The biblical world is the truth, right? All they did was copycat or copy and paste these titles and change things here and put them over there and made a mess out of things, right? But we see clearly, what I'm saying? the puzzle pieces are connecting, especially in India Superior, man. Japan, China, India, everything has its roots right here. Asiatics. So they're talking about two separate races. Think in terms of tribes. Think about northern and southern tribes, right? So for the convenience of the general reader, the word Mexican, until the true name is established, will be applied throughout the following pages to all Central and South America. For the word South may be confounded with that portion of the Republic of North America so denominated, and especially with the American reader, the fundamental error with all writers upon the Aborigines of America is that they have viewed them as one people. Authors have, therefore, been confounded by the different customs and ceremonies of religion as practiced in the two great divisions of the continent. They have seen that the natives were, to a certain extent, in one part of the vast domain, idolaters, and not in the other. So this reminds me of that, land of Prester John, in the British Museum, right? We get that out there, mythical Straits of Antioch, where it says, David is here, and then, or Prester is here next to these idolatrous neighbors. Even though we know we have idolatry in the house of Israel, these idolatrous neighbors represented these other tribes that were surrounding Judah and Israel. We always had Moab nearby. We already know that. Moab, Udall, right? We always had Moab nearby. We just pull it up. I'm just freestyling, man. Mythical Straits of Antioch. Glad, I'm glad some of this still exists out here on the worldwide net. By Godfrey Sykes, Bulletin of the American Geographical Society, Volume 47. Now look. Wow. Talking Prester John, King David. The relationship between the new Spanish discoveries in the Terra Nova and the Asian continent was not yet fathomed, but all of Marco Polo's kingdoms were placed close at hand in the northwest, Manage. In the northwest, right? I'm putting this together with you. Why do we see all this Northwest Indian War, Northwest, 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 Northwest Indian War? Knowing, of course, on the Amexa map, this is Northwest Africa, Northwest of Mexico. We got that, but there's a Northwest connection that's going on here. And I'm still talking about the total solar eclipse crisscrossing over this Northwest region. Talking about on the map, we are Northwest in their orientation. So I developing the idea a little further, after the discovery of the mainland north of the Isthmus, we find that the maker of the MS map, now this is in the British Museum, stop playing, illustrated in outline, has placed Prester John and his idolatrous neighbors not very far from Mexico. And this author over here with the Ancient History of America book is talking about Mexico and all these areas, right? And now we're talking two different races, and one of them is idolatrous and one isn't. And now we look at the map, and I'm not writing it, Managa. They're putting Prester John in this British Museum circa 1530. They're putting Prester John smack in the middle of this northwestern maxim, of this India Superior, they call it, right? Near Mexico. So Prester John and his idolatrous neighbors, priest king, they're trying to connect it with Christianity, but they can't. They wanted to try to convert Hebrews to Christianity, and that was how they were so perplexed and having to do meditation to figure out how in the world can we convert Israelites, Hebrews, and ancient America and India Superior. How can we convert these niggas to JC, to worship the sun? They know who the Hamashiach is. They know Ezekiel 37, one shepherd, one shepherd. But we forgot who the shepherd was, but they got the shepherd right there on the map under the title Priest King. Preston means priest. John means king. So who's the priest king? Who's the shepherd? We're talking about the TAW. We're talking about total solar eclipse that's crisscrossing India Superior, my nigga. We're talking about idolatrous neighbors. Okay. One more time so we can have a frame of reference. How y'all reeling, by the way? I know how you feeling, but how you really reeling? You know what I mean? Y'all let me know how y'all reeling. Behold, I will cause that breath to enter you, right? We're talking about the valley of dry bones. Bones came back together, bone to bone. Then we had to get that ruach spark, so we needed that breath. Say to the breath, come from the four winds, O breath, breathe upon these slain, that they may live, because only to the unwise do they seem to die. Wisdom of Solomon, right? Because you come back together, right? And I will put my ruach in you, and you shall live, because you got that. Mama gave you that breath. Because just like the valley of dry bones, you needed that strong power to enter your family, your house, so that these dry bones can start gathering and walking. Where you gonna go? Through a door to get that breath. Mama says in Proverbs chapter 8, I'm waiting there at the entrance of the city, where X marks the spot, at the coming in, at the gates, to give you that breath, because you've been thoughtless. I had to give you a revelation. And what did Mama reveal? Did she give you that look? The one with the deadly glance, that dragon, so you can see to get security? Without that look, ain't no point in having security, because you don't have no revelation. You don't got no breath. You don't need no security. But with that breath comes security. Ezekiel 37, these dry bones come together. Now they need to be secure. The house needs to be secure with that strong power. You need to know where you're walking. You need to be aware of your vortexes, your gateways, your ley lines, your dragon lines. And when X marks the spot, it needs to be revealed to you what it signifies, because the TAW is always in play. All these letters rock together. It's not separate. It's all one. The TAW is always in play from the very beginning. And you need that breath to get the security. So we say HaWah is a secure breath, my nigga. It's a breath of security, a foundational revelation. So you can eat and get nourished and know who to cut off and when to cut off. Hijack City. To build your wall and divide the tribe, the righteous, to separate the wheat from the tare, to separate your frequency. Now, that's not just physical wall, that's the wall that you're building to protect you. But your dragon, like it says in alchemy, is the vessel that the spirit is contained. It is the protection. It is the wall. But you will have to see with that look. You will have to get that breath right. Let's go. I say, how y'all really reeling? Did you get that ruah? Did you get the breath? So that you may live. And the word of HaWah came unto me, saying, Thou son of man, take thee one stick, right, for Judah, for Israel, his companions. Take another stick, right, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. And of all the house of Israel, his companions, join them to one another to one stick, that they may become one in your hand. And when the children of your people shall speak unto you, saying, Will thou not tell us what this means? Saying to them, Thus says HaWah, behold, I will take one. I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his companions, and I will put them unto him together with the stick of Judah. That's the moral to the story, man. The sticks come together, the tribes come together. That's the TAW, that's the covenant. Make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. Now, who's going to lead this flock once it comes back together? Who is the high messenger? Who is the prester, the priest, Khan? Who is the high Mashiach, the messenger with the breath? Yeah. Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the nations where they are gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land, man. Where's your land? You could have been here the whole time. Like Dr. King say, a Negro find himself a stranger on his own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall no more be two nations. What's this writer over there saying? Oh, these are separate people. One's idolatrous, one's not. All of us was idolatrous, man. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms. He's describing two separate kingdoms, man. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, idolatrous nations, nor with their detestable things, any of their transgressions, but I will save them. I, HaWah, is our Savior. HaWah is our Savior. Out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. Don't you want to be cleansed, Manage? Don't you want to bathe? Aren't you dirty? Out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them, so shall they be my people. We're talking about a family coming back together, not the God of the world, Christianity. A family coming back together. And I will be their God. I will be their power. Remember, they shall have one king. One king shall be king to them all. Who is the priest king? And my servant David shall be king over them. Not his nephew, not his son, not somebody who calls himself son of David, but he's really an immaculate conception. How could he be the seed of David? If you're an immaculate conception, you don't need to be the seed of David. You're the seed of God. No, you got to be the son of David, because David shall be king over them. That new hero in Christianity is cloud chasing off the name, off the purpose of Dawid. David shall be king over them. And they all shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my ordinances and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant, wherein your fathers dwelled, and they shall dwell therein, they and their children, and their children's children, my God. How long, drop? Forever. And David my servant shall be their prince forever. And I will make a covenant of peace with them, and that is forever. So the leader that HaWah appointed from time immemorial to shepherd us in this covenant of peace is Prester John, priest King Daweh. And it shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will establish them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forever. My dwelling place also shall be over them, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people. And these idolatrous neighbors, the nations, shall know that I am HaWah, that sanctifies my people, my children. Asherah, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forever. You don't have to argue with the hijack about who you are no more. HaWah is there to establish us again. No more idols, right? So why would they put Presta over all this Quivera, over all this Antioch? The maker of the map has placed Prester John and his idolatrous neighbors not very far from Mexico. They have seen that the natives were, to a certain extent, in one part of the vast dominion, idolaters, and not in the other. That the North was essentially Republican in every aspect of its political existence, while the Mexican America was as essentially composed of kingdoms and empires. We're the people of these kingdoms. We're the people of these empires, and governed by despotic monarchs, kings, right? And that republics were interwoven within them, with them, that each man in the North was a warrior and an equal, acknowledging no superior but their leader in time of battle. So who was the Khan in the time of battle? Huh? America's been at war 93% of the time. We're talking about the Tecumseh's war. We're talking Tecumseh. And an equal acknowledging no superior but their leader in the time of battle. And should he fall in action, there was not a member of the tribe in which they politically lived, but could have taken his place and filled it with similar courage and ability. They don't know. This is all hypotheticals. They don't know nothing about your leaders. They don't know nothing about your politics. This is them from the outside looking in, studying ruins and artifacts. All right? All right? In Mexico, America, they were not equal, but from the emperor, they descended by degrees to the serf and slave in that country. Stone and structured or stuccoed temples and palaces were and still continue to be found erected with costly magnificence, and in which were jeweled idols to which they bent the knee. Their rich dwellings were splendid mansions adorned with sculptured and beaten gold and graced with the works of art, and as a people enjoying all the refined elegancies of life. This is before European contact, my nigga. That you were enjoying the refined elegancies of life before European contact, my nigga. Which is, of course, the more and more war, right? Here comes Esteban, right? So here comes black ass King Charles, right? 1500s. So in the north, their temple was the Azure canopy of Jehovah. We're talking HaWah, the blue Azure canopy. We're talking like a tabernacle, adorned with its myriads of golden stars. And when beneath the sublime dome they bent the knee, it was to the Almighty God alone. So somebody was most high over everything in the temple or the canopy. And was this canopy made out of Leviathan scales? Their palaces were the gorgeous vistas of the forest. The columns were the gigantic trees. Uh-oh. Each year increasing in their stateliness, their shadowy and painted roofs were the far spreading branches and nature's tinted foliage. So these giant trees were our protection. Their mansions were those of independent wanderers, even the simple tents of Israel. We're talking America and we're talking the tents of Israel at the same time. And as for jeweled idols and features of beaten gold, they presented the diamonds of the human eye, radiant with intellectual beams and glancing from the living emblem of the first and priceless image placed in Eden's garden by the architect of the universe. What is the living emblem, Anaka? Placed in the Garden of Eden by HaWah, the architect of the universe. I'm going to stop there for now because there's another book we got to dig on before we go, man. This was um, a new one, that I'm just finally getting to again. I've been in my, I had to go in the crates, man. I had to go in the crates. But this is the land of the Miamis. Okay. Let's see. By Eleanor. Let's get it right here. The title page. For the dismount, I'm having a good time, man. And deciphering this Tecumseh flow. We got books on books, but it just takes a dragonfly perspective. It's nothing that you got to overwhelm yourself. It's just like, when you understand it's all happening, you could take a breath and get through it. You know what I mean? It's felt on the deepest of levels. All right. Put a lot of blank pages up. Guess in case somebody spill their coffee. They got a few pages to spill their coffee before it's like, all right, man, you can't spill your coffee no more. Now these pages got typing on it. So you had 8 pages. You had 8 pages to spill your coffee. On the ninth page, we got The Land of the Miamis by Elmore Barse, all right, member of the State and National Bar Association, member of the Indiana State Historical Society, author of Land of the Potawatomi. All right, so it says an account of the struggle to secure position of the Northwest. Here we go again. Northwest Indian Wars, right? From the end of the Revolution into 1812. That's the death of Tecumseh. So this is really all about this struggle happening around Israel and the priest Khan Tecumseh, who is very much in himself a priest king. So I want to look at the table of contents and maybe just do a quick belly flop, Managa, and just keep all this in mind as we get closer to this April 8th situation. You know what I mean? A few months away. But we did this drop, covering in 2017 total solar eclipse. And here we are, Drop Nation 7 years later, covering the 2024, wondering what it all means. I'm just belly flopping into these Kentuckians because we talked about Ishmael migrating on the head bone of Tecumseh last time, how they joined forces with the Kentuckians during his migration. This is the first man to break through the mountain barriers to face the British and the Indians. And then facing the British and Indians are facing the Allied forces of Tecumseh that was fighting, the last fight, or the beginning of the last fight, or really a continuation of this fight that we're still fighting today. This Treaty of Greenville, again, is very important. Just right quick, you're going to see it keep coming up. Let's see. Yeah, 1795. See, this led Dragon Canoe to go crazy and be like, y'all better chill giving up all this land. And that followed the Battle of the Fallen Timbers. I'm just belly flopping to see how much land they say we gave up in this treaty. A treaty of peace between the United States of America. Stop it. The corporation and the tribes of Indians called the Wyandots, Delawares, Shawnees, Ottawas, Chippewas, Potawatomis, Miamis. All right, so all of them. So even though Tecumseh's tied in with these Shawnees, he wasn't, there was a whole part of this tribe that wasn't rocking with these treaties, same as the Delawares and all these other treaties. The ones that signed this are the ones that had rulership in these treaties, but not everybody was down with giving up all this land. See, maybe this was gonna tell me how much land they gave up. Okay. Settlement of concluded hostilities between the United States and the Indian Confederation headed by Miami Chief Little Turtle. Yeah, by which the Indians ceded most of the future state of Ohio and significant portions of Indiana, Illinois, Michigan. All right. Now, I think Fort Wayne was the one that was like 30 million acres. Indiana, Illinois, Michigan. That's pretty much the same area here that they started marching around and calling their Little Morocco and Little Mecca and all that, right? Yeah, this whole triangle they started doing their Hajjs, right? Their Mecca flow, right? Muhammad flow, Morocco flow. And all this is what? Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky. So this the area I'm just trying to put it together with me as we make our dismount, my naga. The area that the Ishmaelites, that the tribes of Ishmael are migrating at the same time as the Chickamauga Wars, right? And in this area, they set up shop, right? Now they're migrating because they're benefiting from all of this land, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, Detroit, like they're getting all this land, right? They're setting up their science temples, they're migrating around while we are getting slaughtered, right? I mean, we fighting tooth and nail. 1795, yeah. Northwest Indian Wars, Chickamauga Wars. We just are scrapping our asses off, right? We scrapping our asses off. We are in a full-on scrap. We in a full-on scrap, my nigga, right? And these jabronis are migrating, right? And they set up shop in the exact areas that we are ceding land in these treaties. And the Ishmaelites joined the Kentuckians, and the Kentuckians under Johnson, Captain Johnson, are responsible for the death of Tecumseh. So they put a hit out on Tecumseh. They used these migrating Ishmaelites who are putting some harmonic on this area after they stole it in these treaties. They made a treaty with the corporation, and then they went to war on our people because we different people, right? It's like the other book was saying. So, which two distinct groups of people are they talking about? Morocco in there? Or are we talking Israel? Because it's all happening. This is the battle for the promised land. That's the Treaty of Greenville flow. Let's go back. Let's belly flop into this around 112 situation. See what we can do. Belly flop, man. We belly flop. So just checking out the dates here. 1777. The entire army of Kentucky amounted to 102 men. Now a lot of these were Ishmael. There were 22 at Boonesboro, 65 at Hardinsboro, 15 at St. Asaph's. Aye. Around these frontier stations skulked the Shawnees, hiding behind stumps of trees and in the weeds and cornfields. So, they waylaid the men and boys working in the fields, beset every pathway, watched every water place, shot down the cattle. In the night, says Humphrey Marshall, they will place themselves near the fort gate, ready to sacrifice the first person who shall appear in the morning, in the day. If there be any cover, such as grass, a bush, a large cloud of earth, or a stone as big as a bushel, they will avail themselves of it to approach the fort by slipping forward on their bellies within gunshot, and then whosoever appears first gets the fire, while the assailant makes his retreat behind the smoke from the gun. It's more and more war in real time. Let's see if we can get more into this war going on. You know, the last part of the battle here. Undoubtedly, says Roosevelt, he would have carried out his plan and have destroyed all the settlements west of the Alleghenies had he been allowed to wait until the mild weather brought him his host of Indian allies and his reinforcements of regular and militia from Detroit. How Clark, with his Virginians and Kentuckians and a few French allies from the western post, anticipated his attack, swam the drowned lands of the Wabash, and surprised him at Vincennes, has been well told. Instead of sweeping Kentucky, the hair-buyer general was taken a prisoner to the dungeons of Virginia, and the newborn possessions were erected into the county of Illinois. Page 138, belly flopping. So let's get it from here. It says, thus did this noble lord, while refraining from making an open and manly declaration of war, secretly and clandestinely set on these savages, appealing on the one hand to their fear of the American encroachment and urging on the other the security the tribes must feel from the British retention of the frontier posts. In the meantime, he bidded that moment when the weakness of the states or their mutual dissensions would enable him to come out in the open and seize that territory which the king had lately lost. One is reminded of the remarks that Tecumseh made to Governor William Henry Harrison in 1810. He said he knew the latter, i.e., the English, were always urging the Indians to war for their advantage. Right? They're always using us to war for their advantage. Same as today, right? More and more. And not to benefit his countrymen. And here he clapped his hands and imitated a person who hollows at a dog to set him to fight with the other. So he's using our own people against us, and they're like dogs. Sada Safala. Pursuant to the instructions of the Continental Congress heretofore referred to, General Arthur St. Clair in the year 1788 opened up a correspondence with the tribes of the Northwest in order to bring them to a treaty. This is what the Northwest Indian War is all about. The government, though suffering from a paucity of funds, had determined to enter into engagements looking to the fair and equitable purchase of the Indian land. How is it fair and equitable if you are forcing these people off their land, right? It was plainly to be seen that unless an accommodation could be arrived at with the tribes, that the government either had to abandon the territory north of Ohio or levy war. This they were reluctant to do. The treasury was practically empty and the people poor. The country had practically no standing army, nor was there the means to raise one. In fact, the new Constitution had not yet been ratified by an adequate number of states, and the first president of the United States had not been elected. Again, something must be done, if possible, to relieve the sufferings of the Western people. They were loudly complaining of the inattention and neglect of the government, and they were left entirely without support in fighting their way to the Spanish markets at New Orleans. So they were like, come on, man, we need some more support. Y'all just gonna drop us off here, man. These people crazy, man. So in repelling the constant attacks of the Indian raiders urged on by British agents. Grave doubts might justly be entertained of their continued loyalty. In fact, during the month of November in this same year, 1788, the infamous Dr. John Connolly arrived at Louisville. He came as a direct agent of Lord Dorchester, seeking to undermine the allegiance of the Kentuckians to their government. Right, the Kentuckians, again, this is what the Ishmaelites were migrating into, the Kentuckians, right? And offering them arms and ammunition with which to attack the Spaniards. This inglorious mission ended in Connolly's disgraceful and cowardly flight. So these Kentuckians were going to stay tribed up with the corporation of America, not the indigenous people. They had an allegiance to the government. And this British Lord Dorchester was like, look, attack the Spaniards, man. He's like, nah. So he had to take flight. In their efforts to negotiate a fair compact, the United States had some reason to anticipate a friendly disposition on the part of the Delawares and the Wyandots. Large numbers of the latter tribe had been won over to the principles of Christianity. Damn. And were inclined towards peace, but the Miamis of the Wabash, and when they say peace, that means a treaty. Once they Christianize you, now you are inclined to make peace with the hijack, not peace with your creator, not peace with your people, but to the hijack, because they've gotten to your fighting spirit. They've put out your fire. But the Miamis of the Wabash and the Shawnees and the Kickapoos were hostile. Yeah, man. And no hijacks allowed. At Miami Town, where the Little Turtle and Legrease close by, were the Shawnees under Blue Jacket. All were under the influence of the Gerties, George and Simon, and all had been engaged in the Indian raids. The Miami Confederates at Eel River, Owantenan, Tippecanoe, right? All looked to the head men at Miami Town for inspiration. And all this is happening while they migrating. And Tippecanoe, again, is where X marks the spot. And right near Tippecanoe, was a boundary, a triangular boundary around their holy mountain pyramid cube, right? It says the formula for the holy mountain is supposedly contained in the odd dimensions of the cube built by Abraham and Ishmael. This is why Ishmael feels the right to migrate, to make treaties with the corporation, to fight an ancient war. They don't care about this recent war America is in. They're fighting a biblical war. They're fighting, you know, a war for the promised land. Biblically, that they feel like they got rights in these territories. Same people that Joshua drove out, same people Moses was driving out, same people King David was driving out. Same thing. See if I can get one more little bit here for the dismount. Page 193. Let's get it. The expedition had in all things been a success. He had captured a number of prisoners, cut down 430 acres of corn. He just killing the corn, destroyed at least 2 Indian towns. Some historians who had commented on these campaigns of Scott and Wilkinson and the Kentucky militia that Ishmael's migrating into and other tribes, right, have sought to minimize and even to discredit these expeditions, says Albach. The expeditions of Harmar, Scott, and Wilkinson were directed against the Miamis and Shawnees, and served only to exasperate them. The burning of their towns, the destruction of their corn, and the captivity of their women and children only aroused them to more desperate efforts to defend their country and to harass their invaders. What happened to you, Malaga? What happened to your fight? Your purpose at this time was to harass the invaders, Malaga, not to be a part of the go along, get along gang and to make treaties with the hijack and to live happily ever after in the mind bone of hijack city. Your purpose was to be hijack free. To them, that's not peace. Your peace ain't their peace. Their peace is you not harassing them. Your peace is you getting the hijack off the land, harassing the invader, no matter what they look like. The review of Secretary of War Knox communicated to President Washington on the 26th of December, 1791, however, contains the following quote: the effect of such desultory operations upon the Indians will, by occupying them for their own safety and that of their families, prevent them spreading terror and destruction along the frontier. So the operations, this mission upon the Naga, who we have already confirmed is an Israel Indian tragedy, right? So this invasion of Israel, occupying their women, their children, occupying us in all these ways, by occupying them for their own safety. Whose safety? Whose peace? And that of their families, prevent them from spreading terror and destruction along the frontiers. Terror to who? Destruction to who? These people are reacting to the destruction of their families, their houses, their land. They're reacting to the destruction. Now you want to prevent them from getting no get back. You don't want them to get no get back. You don't want them to spread terror after you terrorize these people all these years. These sort of expeditions had the precise effect during the last season, and Kentucky enjoyed more repose and sustained less injury than for any years since the war with Great Britain. Sherlock, this single effect, independent of injury done to the force of the Indians, is worth greatly more than the actual expense of such expeditions. Last part we'll get is this, my naga. Last part we'll get is this, man. I can't take no more. I can only do a little bit at a time because it turns my stomach just to feel all this pain and torturing and suffering. But we know, man, 2024 year of the dragon, it's time to look at all this, straight on. We got to look at it straight up. We got to, swallow whatever this pain is. We got to embrace whatever the purpose is, and to know that the purpose is the TAW, the purpose is the sign, the mark, the purpose is the covenant, the cross sticks coming back together, the tribe coming back together. We can now stomach this pain with a greater hope to be restored, for our land to be restored. Last part is this: other effects produced were equally important. The brave Kentuckians hijacked the city. For the first time, were acting in conjunction with and under the direction and control of the federal authorities. Ping pow. So you was battling the federal authorities when you were battling the Kentucky. The cement of a common interest, my naga. Common interest. That means that they are in the same go along, get along gang. They had a common interest. They had the same treaties of peace and friendship, right? As Washington would say, was binding state and nation together. Not only were the soil and the long-suffering people of Kentucky rendered more secure against Indian attack, but the hardy descendants of the pioneers were being trained for the eventful conflict of 1812. Let me get that bigger, man. What an event, right? And what they call an event is the destruction of the last priest Khan in India Superior. They just say that's eventful, boss. That was an eventful conflict of 1812 when 7,000 of the valorous sons of that commonwealth should take the field in defense of their country. Defense of their country. Ain't this a hijack being a hijack? Now they feel that they're defending their country when they are the ones that came over here slaughtering us. Now they think it's theirs, and now they have to defend something that they stole. I want my granddaddy wallet back. Is that their wallet? If they took my granddaddy wallet in 1800s, does it now belong to them and no longer belongs to me and my house, my family? And if I try to get that wallet back, I see the hijack walking with my wallet in the alley, and I go pull up on the hijack, and they say, I'm defending myself and my property. I'm defending this wallet. It's mine. I'm saying I'm getting my wallet back. I'm getting my granddaddy wallet back, right? That's two different perspectives, two different versions of peace, two different versions of an eventful conflict, two different versions of a common interest. 1812. America's been at war 93% of the time. In this war of 1812, rock side by side with a dragon of 1812. 1811, that they call the Great Comet of 1811. So they say Tecumseh's name, the Shawnee military leader Tecumseh, his name means shooting star because he saw this comet during the Pan-Native Alliance, right? Remember, that means all inclusive to the native, all inclusive to nature. So this is an alliance that was all inclusive to HaWah, the creator, the tribes, your initial, confederacy, your initial connection, man. Like, we lost it all. We lost the pan-nativeness, and now they say we out of Africa, and now the native goes to someone else, right? So this is the switcheroo, and we saw it all in real time. We'll come back talking more about this dragon of 1811, the meteor of 1811, and how it correlates, not only directly with the Tecumseh, but with the solar eclipse of April 8th, 2024. The Great North American Eclipse. 7 years after the previous one, when they say we have to wait 360 years on average, this has happened 7 years apart. And it's not just the Great North American Eclipse, my nigga. This is the Great India Superior Eclipse. This is the Great Prestigion Eclipse, the Great Cathay Eclipse, where this particular mark, sign, and covenant is crisscrossing right over the head bone of Tecumseh, of the priest Khan. What is a Khan by definition? American. A Khan is a priest in Hebrew, and an American is the originals, the copper-colored tribes of India Superior. Were you brought here, or were you just found here, boss? Are you pan-native? Are you pan-nature? Are you pan all-inclusive to the copper Khan? Just know that you are already home. And the investigation continues, man. The water for surfing the wave, 9 above the barrier. One more time with a Khan, and y'all listening and y'all commenting and y'all giving, all your recon, man, has made this investigation more than exciting, man, and more than worthy as we see these puzzle pieces really connecting, man. Not just in this part of the world, but it starts here, It starts with understanding what all this secrecy is about, right here on our land. And from there, we can understand and have a dragon flit eye perspective, 360 degree. We can see clearly together, man, how everything else fits, man. So keep leaving your great comments, man. I'm going to keep doing the recon with you, man. We're going to stay tribing up, keep suiting up, and keep choosing up, my nigga. Halal HaWah, MHOE.